Hello, everybody. A good afternoon for the distinguished guests, for the participants of online conference. Special thank you for the panelists and all of the PM practitioners and passionate supporters. This morning, when I joined the conference and the keynote speaker, we talked about the projectized, digitized, and connected principles in project management. And no surprise, all of that very nicely intertwines with the sustainability principles and directions that we see in the world. And one may ask, what does project management has to do with it? So today our panel will deep dive into it. And I have the honor to welcome our panel participants. And by asking you to introduce, my question to each of you is, what is your personal, in addition to which company you are and what your role is, it would be important to learn what is your personal relationship to sustainability? And maybe we start with you, Giedre.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So most probably sustainability for me at first is something which is long-term rather than something short-term goal-orientated, like short-term profit or short-term pleasure or joy. And for me, I represent a sustainable fashion company, I'm CEO of a company, and I would say that I'm the one who was leading change, how About will be driven in the future. And we've chosen a sustainable strategy, and this is the only strategy we have. And I believe that why it is, because I was looking for something meaningful after many years working just for profit, and I found it. And this is my meaningful choice. And of course, this choice drives the happiness of actually making a change. Because I'm happy with every new customer who's changing his behavior and choosing, instead of fast fashion, choosing something which is meant to be for wearing very long, for quality, made with social responsibility in mind. And this is what drives the change in a very dirty market of fashion, I would say. And and even most probably in personal life, this drives your changes too. For example, I'm now pregnant with my second child, and I have not bought any single new item for him. I'm super happy with that, because this is my chance to make a second life for something which was labeled unusable.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for being with us. What about you, Mindaugas?
Sustainability is quite a wide meaning, yeah? So if you start talking all these 17 sustainability goals, then you start sounding like some corporate bullshit warrior. So I would say for me, what is sustainability is very simple. It's a way of living. I have many hats in my life, like father, human being, fisherman, and whatever. We practice catch and release. But at the same time, I'm a farmer who I believe I raise cattle and bulls somewhere in western Lithuania, and I believe that ecological way of raising meat is more profitable and easier to achieve profits than to do it industrial way. I believe in that, I invest in that, I do that. Yeah? I am also a little bit of a business angel, so I invested in some startups which are going to eliminate any paper usage in any documents and all this stuff. So this is the choice for me, to eliminate the waste which is produced by me being a human being on this planet. Then I still drive a car, I still pollute, I still do the things. I'm not the saint or better than the Pope in the Vatican, but I may make choices in my life to minimize the negative impact and maximize the positive impact in the environment and in surrounding and in community.
Thank you so much. Very interesting. Indra, you represent a telecommunications company, but what about you personally?
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here and join this panel. And I definitely agree with everything colleagues have mentioned. And for me, sustainability is first and foremost on a personal level. It's the choice to lead by example. And as a fellow human being, I definitely make mistakes, and I'm not a perfect in making sustainable choices. However, I do a conscious effort to make my everyday life, my surroundings, to more sustainable, to have more positive footprint, and at the same time to change the behavior of people surrounding me. So first and foremost, my family, the closest to me, the community that is next to me. But then looking into I'm very happy that I'm a sustainability project manager at TELIA, Lithuania, because I can have the real impact and lead the change inside the company, which is, I think, very important, because by changing the behavior of the teams, of the company itself, you can have a very positive impact for the wider society. So for me, I think that's what sustainability means, to being at least trying to be the change maker and having a positive impact for other people so they can also join into the quest.
Thank you so much. What about you, Liudas?
Well, as my colleagues already mentioned, first of all, hello everybody, and it's good to be here and to have this kind of discussion. But it's a pretty wide understanding of what sustainability is. So I fully agree with what you already said, but to keep it short, I would say for me it's mostly about leaving the environment, the society, the family, and the workplace I have, so at the moment, better than I found before. So it means making choices and decisions which leads to giving most positive income and outcome, rather than affecting everything else in a negative way, and especially if I can, how to say, avoid negative effect on different areas of my lifetime and the work. That's the biggest priority for me. As the company itself, I work in SWECO, which we are a consultancy company, which is working with our clients. So the sustainability itself is something that we are facing every day on daily business. On the one hand, as the company itself, we have settled goals to become climate neutral by 2040, and we are thinking and looking for ways how to go step by step until that goal is reached. On the other hand, we are doing hundreds of projects every year for our clients, and we realized that as a company, the biggest impact we can do actually is through those projects, helping our clients to make better choices, to make better solutions with their new journeys in order to change in a positive way the outcome of what's going to be in front of us in the future.
Fantastic. So thank you for your introductions, and for our listeners or people who are joining us in this discussion, I wanted to say that we will structure this discussion into kind of 4 directions, and we look into environment, business impact, organizational and people impact, as well as society and communities we live in, and we'll try to connect it to sustainability principles and project management. So starting with the environment and climate, last week global leaders made serious commitments in the UN Climate Summit, and they agreed to reduce the deforestation or to end deforestation and to cut emission of methane. But then the global leaders left. They have other summits. Now it's the France meeting of Macron, and they left it to their teams to actually work it out how, and ultimately it will all come down to people like us to actually take these steps towards very big global or national goals. So the question for you as business leaders is, what can we do in our responsibility areas or businesses to actually reduce global warming, to make a kind of positive impact to this direction? And is it just, the little song, reuse, reduce, recycle? Or can we do something more to turn the footprint into the handprint? Would anyone like to share?
Well, maybe I can start on that matter. Is it a good sound? Sorry? Yeah. Okay. So, the first thing typically is that when the companies are becoming more and more aware actually about what sustainability is, and that's of course is doing by having the people which are giving that impact internally. So typically the first question for company that rises is where we are now. We are doing the business for many years maybe already, or we're just a startup, but what is our actual situation as for now? Is it a possibility somehow to measure it and then to make a decisions based on that? So the good news is that it is already quite numerous of ways and methods to actually measure the footprint of the organization in different levels. And starting is typically to see how much of, for example, carbon footprint the organization generates through year during the activities they perform. There is a so-called greenhouse gas protocol publicly available. It provides quite good methodology to assess different types of emissions, direct, indirect, and other, from the companies or organization activities, and gives a very good, actually, view on what are the key areas of the companies that generate the most of the carbon footprint. That helps companies to start thinking on the real actions. What should we do? Where we want to be starting from today? How we are going to make it? And that integrates into companies' strategies rather than being just formal documents like policies that we are sustainable or environment friendly. Another way is the same sustainable development goals that Mindaugas already mentioned. When United Nations in 2015 have settled 17 goals with 169 sub-goals actually, and settled a goal to be ready for that in 2030, they left quite a good framework on how companies as well with their activities could check and feel where exactly their performance is actually making a positive or even negative impact on our society, environment, health and safety, clean energy, and so on. So using those tools, companies already can have a very good view on how they look now, where they can become, and that's the next step for them to make a reasonable choice. When we go deeper in the organization, when new initiatives are starting, the projects are starting, there are other ways to measure the project's impact, potential impact. Just before actually launching it, the same sustainable development goals could be used actually. I'm proud that my colleagues from SWECO Sweden have developed a tool, visual tool, that helps clients to rapidly check and see how their new initiative or project will contribute to the company's climate neutral targets or goals. They can adjust, they can see quite easily on what impact it will make. And the last thing, as I say, the lowest level, but not far, it's also very important, is that when we go down into specific projects where buildings or infrastructure are being developed, I mean every kind, there are publicly known certification systems like BREEAM, LEED, SQL for infrastructure and similar, which helps in project, inside the project, to make calculated decisions and to see how those impact on the project sustainability performance. So the teams and the project managers are typically very involved in there, so they have possibility to actually discuss and see how we can change, what extra step we can make, or maybe some new technology implement, and how it will give us the benefit. Typically, those kind of systems also give some rewards for the clients because they are publicly known, they are, certified. It gives a very quantitative comparison to other companies, to markets, average and similar. So it's already quite a good range of methods and tools we can use actually to make the assessments and make decisions based on that.
If I may add to what was said, so the another reflecting to your how to set up the goals and start a sustainability journey, I think in TELIA we took a little bit from another side. We first set up very ambitious goals And then we started looking, so how do we go there? Because in 2019, we set up the goals that by 2030, we will be CO2 neutral, zero waste, implementing the circular business model and involving 100% of organization. At that time, the idea was that we have to set up the goals because otherwise we're not gonna be able to move forward. And as now, since 2019, it's the third year already, I can look back and evaluate how everything went. So definitely the key point after setting these very ambitious goals was to see, okay, so where do we stand and how much CO2 we emit and where do we have the waste? And all these calculations like you have mentioned. And then another step down, breaking into very clear work groups along all the organization and splitting all the tasks. So now, where we are now, I'm very comfortable to say that we know exactly where we are going. We know exactly what's our starting point. We have set very clear KPIs like 2022, 2023, 2025 is confirmed by the Science-Based Targets Initiative. So that means we are not calculating just the air. And like you said, there's a lot of tools. But at the same time, it is a challenge. It's not easy to make these calculations, especially for the big organization as ours, where the supply chain has a lot of impact. And how do you calculate that? So there's definitely lots of challenges, but there are a lot of great initiatives and communities where you can get the inspiration and the knowledge. And I think now I'm very confident that I know how we're going to reach these goals, and I already see very clear company involvement and belief in that, and their clear actions and projects that are implementing and leading us for that change.
I fully agree with you on that matter, but you know, the calculations normally are something that we call quite an easy part. Because the biggest challenge comes to the company or the organization when they see the result and need to actually decide and take a real action, because it's always a trend, it's in our minds, I believe, that especially in business, that we kind of try to get low-hanging fruits and we think that's it. But that's typically not a stretch for us. It doesn't require to make something extra. And the challenge comes when you start thinking about what else, what more can we do? What is the benefit for the organization? Because sustainability is not about being just green. It has to somehow transfer to the business itself. Yeah.
So you guys started a very interesting discussion, and it just raises a question for me. So one of you are talking us about sustainability as part of the project, and I hear that TELIA is looking at it as sustainability as a project in itself. So how do you see that Giedre? What is it? Should sustainability be a way of life or a way of project management, or is it just a project we do, we achieve, and we move on?
This is a very good point. Actually, what most probably the main difference, we were born out of the idea, which is our strategy, which is at the same time a sustainability strategy. So we have no other strategy. There is no sustainability goals. There is only one goal, which is actually go through all the companies. So this most probably is a bit different. We are a young company, and that in mind, we were created having that in mind, right? But I would like to add to this discussion, which has actually helped us a lot too, because when we started with a big idea in mind. So just like TELIA did, right? So we defined that our goal is to save finite virgin resources and eliminate as much waste as possible. So what does it mean? Yeah? So basically we understood that we have to start at the very beginning of a cycle. So by choosing a sustainable fiber, which includes basically biomass, byproducts, or recycled products. Yes, something which is for somebody else is used unusable. Labeled unusable, right? So this is how we started, because by this we eliminate part of waste. We put that in the beginning of a cycle. So this was our big idea. Okay, now we had to understand, so where are we standing? And I would say that in our case, in fashion business, the data is not that easy, as you mentioned, because there are so many methodologies how to actually define I'll calculate your whole supply chain. They keep arguing about the same fiber, different methodologies are saying different things. So it was a huge project, the biggest project up to date we had, actually, and we are finalizing it. But the goal of it was exactly this, that, okay, we need to get the data to understand if we're somewhere near our big goal, and to define clear actions how to go into that direction. And the outcome of that was that we practically eliminated 80% of the fibers we used to use. We left just few of them because they're somewhere close to our strategy, yes? We eliminated some of the suppliers. We understood what is wrong with in our production, or maybe where are the areas we could improve, because those have the biggest impact. Data helps us to define where to focus first, because sustainability, it's like never-ending project. I mean, it's impossible to end it, for at least the way I think it, because there's always a way to do it better, right? So this data is actually helping us to define, so where do we start, what is the focus, and how to measure if we are going into that direction. Because it's a lot of greenwashing. It's greenwashing in the fashion industry. It's like a fashionable thing to do, I would say now, because everyone is saying we are sustainable, but they are not showing the numbers. So another thing of this project, what we were aiming for, is actually to convert that internal data company got into the communication for the customer. So we gonna launch ability for a customer to see when buying or choosing like a t-shirt buying from us, he will be able to see what is the amount of water saved, what are the chemical amount of chemicals avoided or CO2 saved, right? So this is the way of us handling the decision making to the customer. We show them the facts, converted from that big LCA project into very, very simple language he can actually understand. And we want him to make a decision, because he is the real change maker. We are the ones who enable him to make the change. So most probably this is our journey, and this is how we see it. One and only strategy.
Fantastic. Now, you touched upon labeling and certifications and all kinds of PR activities that are going on around sustainability. Let me ask Mindaugas, as a business leader and having so various activities, why should a business leader actually focus on sustainability and invest into these initiatives? Is it just because regulator asks so? Or is it because consumer is looking for this little sign or little label on the product? And do we need to choose between efficiency and sustainability, or can it be achieved together?
There is no choice. There is no choice between efficiency and sustainability. And as we are in project management conference, yeah? So what is the good project manager? The one which produces zero waste. Waste is not only about environment, waste is not only about something. The waste is the total cost of ownership, and that's what we miss in all this equation. The total cost of ownership is a price you pay, functions you get, is it suitable for what you want, and how much it will cost you to get rid of. Usually, we tend to focus only into the price. Everything else doesn't matter. So the good project manager, whatever project he's doing, he should take into account all waste. Is it production waste? Is it time waste? Because we should not force human beings to do the monkey's job. You should not be that kind. So sustainable project management is eliminating all kind of waste to zero, not minimizing, zero. And I would like to jump into this discussion previously. There is a meme now going all around the internet that by 2050, it's almost about me, by 2050 I will quit drinking.
Yeah,
I could quit now, yeah, but before that I will buy a new fridge, and I will. So that will be a capture and store method for me. And 2050, I will drop it. So I completely agree. There is a lot what you should not do with sustainability. not to do the bloody marketing thing, not to do greenwashing. When we talk about, oh, we will achieve this goal, we will achieve this goal, we will achieve this goal. We have companies in Lithuania, name at least one company who has all the fleet electrical. Name at least one company in the world who has all the fleet already electrical vehicles. No, because when you calculate only the price, it doesn't count.
Doesn't make sense.
We have company which is call themselves renewable energy company, but they cannot buy electrical cars because the Excel doesn't withstand it. And then when we take short-term decisions, and this 2050, I will quit drinking alcohol, it prevails because we are used to work in that method. We are used to manage our projects as we are used to, and we don't put a new equation. What I would say, what we need to change. One proverb Lithuanian says that every man needs to plant a tree, build a house,
Have a son.
have a son, and yeah. So we need to plant a tree every week. Sun every week is not possible, but at least we should strive
And
to.
build a...
Well,
have
actually,
a
it would be that you should have no sons because
I don't believe in
there's
that
a
one.
running that less people on Earth should be more sustainable. I don't agree with that notion as well.
But we should also look what kind of houses we are living in,
Yes,
and what
exactly.
kind of and one thing also we should now the strategy of these global leaders is let's be less evil. And let's stop being evil by 2030 in one company strategy, by 2050 in the society strategy. We should change that paradigm and say, let's be good.
Yeah.
Let's plant tree every day. Let's not make any waste of time, of materials, of supply chains. Let's not buy cotton from Uzbekistan where there is no child labor, but telecommunication company, all employees are willingly going and picking up the cotton in the fields. And in Tajikistan the same, and in China the same, and everything. I completely agree with your strategy. Most probably you have a new customer.
If I may, it's partially something that I would like to object actually, because it's true that for the moment there is none or very few companies around the world that can say that they have fully reached the goals. I believe we could find some, but in the end, it's not an easy task. It's not something that we can make a decision today and tomorrow already be, there where we want. It's something that needs to be implemented in a long-term matter, and in 2050 or 2040 or whatever the term is, then I would say we will be able to measure how much of actually companies have reached the goals, how much more they have proceeded. But until then, we can only give us some insights on what they are doing. Making decision is the first step in the journey, and the rest is then showing for everyone and for themselves and for the employees what exactly are we doing, and that's not an easy part. So I wouldn't be so harsh saying that now it's already a very bad situation, but it's in the beginning actually on what's starting to happen. Although if we would look back a bit, sustainability is something that is being discussed not the first time, not the first year even. It's decades where we can already reach speakers saying about sustainability as the new trend. And it was some time when the sustainability already has been discussed. It was something like 10 or 15 years ago. Then it goes down somehow. And I believe the understanding on what sustainable is changed. And back then, maybe it was more about company being sustainable by more effective, but without touching too much maybe that environmental or society matter, shared value matter. Now it's restarting with a new rebranding, let's say, and I would like to believe that it's something that is going to change the upcoming years.
That's very interesting, and Mindaugas briefly touched upon project managers' responsibility in kind of no-waste project management, which is very interesting. Can I ask you, Indra, how do you apply this in your daily work or daily activities? Maybe you have some example to share.
I think I wanted to reflect also to this. The change in the organization. It depends from how old is the organization, how new is the organization, how big is the organization, and I can only talk about my own organization, which is really, well, comparably big in Lithuania. The change doesn't come easy. The change of the mindset, you're not going to change all the people suddenly, just because you decided to be sustainable. And right from the day one, not everybody believes. I'm not going to say that in TELIA Lithuania, 100% of my colleagues believe in sustainability. That's not true. I would be lying, and I'm not going to do that. My goal is, as a sustainability project manager, to make them believe, to show them the positive effects, all what you have mentioned, all that profitability, the efficiency, that is all built in, but people will not see it right away just because we present them the new strategy that this is the way of working, and now every single step you have not only to evaluate how much profit your business case will make, is it saving, resources, but you also have to evaluate what positive impact it will bring for the societies as such. And that change doesn't come easy. For that, you need to work a lot with people. You have to work with the senior management as well. You have to have the approach from top down, but also from bottom up. You have to have the real ambassadors who believe in this topic. And me being one in the company of 2,000 people is not going to make the change. So I definitely have colleagues who believe in this matter, and the circle is growing. So once you have a strong engagement of the management, who then help for their team to understand that this is important. It's like part of your KPIs. You have to take it seriously. It's not just another nice project on a site, which maybe was back in the days. Yes, CSR used to be a side project. It used to go along. There were a lot of good things achieved, but it was not like implemented in the general, the strategy. Now it's every single project has to be evaluated on additional steps, and that has to become business as usual. Sustainability has to be something. So I think what we are approaching, really involving the people, talking to the teams, helping them to understand the importance, giving them simple educational material, giving them trainings, helping them to see how they can do that. And now I've been in the role for more than 3 years. And in the beginning, I was really at many points hitting the wall myself. Now I have people who approach me, maybe not on a daily basis, but with projects of their own creation, which is the goal, that every single team takes ownership. I'm not going to go and tell them what they have to do. I'm just going to try to encourage them. But they come up to me, and one of the examples, you wanted me to give an example. So as we are the internet and TV services provider, so we have equipment which is used by our customers. We are renting that equipment. We take it back, we don't leave it for our customers, and we reuse it. So last year we reused over 46,000 pieces of equipment, and we actually could have reused more if we had. That means we are really putting effort where we can and trying to minimize the e-waste, not to get the new equipment, to get into that cycle and check all the ticks in the boxes where we can do the positive impact. So that's just one. There are definitely smaller initiatives where people make some things, really small changes, but I think it really shows that the mindset is changing and that it becomes one of the organizational values, and it will still take time to have it 100%, but I'm being very positive about the change.
Fantastic. So you're sharing the transformation of your organization and change of mindset towards more sustainable principles of working and contributing to business goals. You set up everything from scratch, and you built out the company with the right mindset as your priority. So tell us a little bit of what are the benefits of such approach of having a startup kind of.
It's actually totally different, and most probably the big thing we definitely have a benefit in that the criteria of choosing a meaningful job is becoming more and more important. Before, people were choosing where to work, based on where the office is. Do they have a free lunch? What's the salary? All those benefits. And now, not even only young generation, I would say, they are making a decision if they can actually make a difference and if that work is actually meaningful. So it's a huge benefit for me because as a small company, as a startup, you have to attract brilliant professionals, right? And well, it's not the salary we are attracting with at the very beginning. It's actually the mission of the company. And I was really surprised how influential this is. And that the amount of people who are actually making this decision. And they actually agree on like even smaller salary in order to have like, you know, higher meaning in their life. Because they spend, well, majority of your time is spent at work, yes? So and this, then what it brings critical mass of people who are like-minded, right? So it's then very easy because they are, as you said, ambassadors within the teams, and they developed the strategy without additional effort because they kind of believe in that, like they came for that reason. They were, because of, you know, that high reason of just joining the company, and this is what it makes really easy because, as you said, I get a lot of ideas of projects, of things to be done because those people are naturally interested in the field.
I see Liudas wants to contribute, but also can I ask you to link it back to the project management and maybe how some methodologies can help in this mindset sustaining or change actually?
I could try to do it, but just to finish the thought, I was trying to support what just Giedrė said, is actually that I believe McKinsey did a survey that Generation Z and the current millennial generation are trending to be more and more aware and caring about the higher target, not just the end line of the Excel. And this is one of the key things where the companies are going to be challenged actually to integrate the sustainability within their internal daily routines, let's say, because the employees, in order to attract talents, to retain those talents, are looking for the companies who are giving that extra value to the environment and society, as well as the users of our products are demanding us and then even rewarding us to paying extra for those things. So that's to what you just said. And as for the project management, this is something that first thing, the project manager itself has to have certain soft skills, in my opinion. It's a communication and that creative problem solving, because within the projects, we still have the same, as we mentioned before several times, but change of doing something more efficient, more sustainable, more oriented to more things than just quality or cost. Kind of attracts response from even our team members. They don't necessarily like it because that's something that's not they're used to. So the project managers are very critical in this matter to facilitate those kind of discussions, to bring that back on the table time after time, to see whether there is something new, is there something we can do better. It doesn't mean we need to do more costly, because typically the sustainability is still in line with what is effective, but also whether there is something we can make our initiative or company more approachable to society. We can have a shared thing together. Is there something we can do to preserve or create something valuable to the environment, like doing within this project? That first will come from the top management, from the leaders inside the company, not necessarily the managers, but the leaders who are engaged into this problem. And as well, the project managers will have to do inside the teams to constantly come back to that. And that's one of the top things to not forget.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So we have talked briefly about the ecosystem, the climate change, the environment. We talked about business. We talked about people and organization. And now let's talk about the place where we operate, about the communities and social environment in which our companies or our businesses operate. What legacy do we have to this ecosystem, and how can we engage with them for the better result and for the better output in terms of what we said, handprint versus the footprint? Any thoughts on that, Mindaugai?
Again, the ancient Lithuanian proverb is saying the child is not raised by the parents, child is raised by the village. So that's when it comes about community. And it happened that in 2011 I migrated to Estonia and became a CEO there. And there are striking differences, but in 2011 there was a striking difference how people were doing sports outdoors in Tallinn and in Vilnius. In Vilnius it was close to zero. In Tallinn it was quite a lot of people jogging, bicycling, skiing, whatever. A lot of activities. And after 1.5 years in that environment, I started jogging. I hate jogging. I honestly hate jogging, but you start jumping on the same orchestra platform. I still hate jogging, but I jog because I like the feeling afterwards. You know, then now in Lithuania, okay, I gained some weight, I stopped jogging, I started bicycling. So I bought a bicycle from 1978, the same age as me. Italian, nice bicycle. It's riding really nice, better than today's carbons. My friends started to look at these ancient legacy bikes, and they also think, why to buy the new one if you can refurbish the old one and use it and have healthy way of living with zero impact to environment. When I was training myself to climb the Aconcagua, I didn't go to the gyms. I started climbing the 22nd floor every day without the elevator. Mm-hmm. That's how I got healthy, yeah? And then I noticed that at the beginning I was alone. Then somebody started from canteen climbing with me, then there were more people and more. So what I want to say is the community starts to change from the very one. And there is a nice proverb again from Dalai Lama, who said, if you think that you are too small to make a change, try to spend a night in a tent with mosquito. So the community, we are the community. The way we behave, we set the vibes in the community. If it's cool, if it's healthy, if it's good, then that's the vibe. That's the community, how it changes, where I agree with the companies that the change doesn't happen like that. But it also doesn't happen if you start writing the values on the walls. Miracles doesn't happen like that. Walk the talk, do the job, and believe in it. If you act in one environment in one way, in another environment another way, then you are fake. That's what's usually, not usually, but that's where a lot of these things happens in our let's say, everyday life. We should be integral. If we believe, we do. If we don't believe, we tell. We don't believe in that. That's not true. And then the community will choose the right path. We don't want to be bad. We will go for the good. I encourage, let's go to this good, faster. I invested in one of the company which is building solar plants. I am happy about that because I'm making an impact in the environment, and the not mosquitoes, insects and rabbits and hedgehogs starts to walk there. But while my company is building, I have a diesel generator working there 24/7, because when you are building the power plant, usually there is no power. You need to burn the diesel. I'm ashamed. Maybe I should switch to LNG. Maybe I should switch to methane gas. The technology is semi-available. That's what keeps my meaningful life, that it's not only that I am telling my kids that, okay, I am building a renewable energy, but the way I'm doing it also could give me a competitive advantage, because other companies will start buying from me, they will not like the waste, and that's how the community, environment, and everybody will shift towards the sustainability.
If I may add upon the community building within like businesses and elaborate a little bit more, I think it's very important that you find the partners, let's say partners in sustainability crime, if I may say so, to have a bigger impact, because sometimes alone you don't have the power to make a change. So let's say looking back again into supply chain. Supply chain is a critical point for many of the companies, and usually that's where the big footprint is of your, let's say, negative footprint. And so in order to make, sometimes you need to have partnership which would have, you would be able to have the effect on the supply chain that your suppliers would be making the change and changing their behavior, it would be more sustainable. So in the IT or telecommunication industry, we have a few partnerships where we together have a joint voice and we can have a bigger impact on our suppliers, let's say, so that we can talk to them and ask them, please, for us the sustainability is important, therefore we want you to have also a positive change. And TELIA is also a part of 1.5 degree supply chain leaders initiative, which is also with this the idea of this initiative is to help the supply chain to change their behavior, to become more sustainable, to set their own sustainability goals so that we can have the effect all through the value chain. And I think that's where the partnerships are really strong. And in some smaller companies, because some smaller companies might feel we are unable to make a change because we are just so small in a scale, but I believe then you can find other companies who have the same issues and topics and unite and then look for possible solutions that can, create this change. And moreover, just sharing your experience, sharing how you did step by step the change, how you initiated, how you involved your employees. This is also a great community knowledge sharing that I'm definitely part of. I'm always very interested in what other companies are doing, and I'm trying to learn from all this and try to apply in my own company. Not everything works, but then, that's the learning, and, you do and you try, the trial and error way.
I see.
I would like to add, I am a huge believer of the power of the community. And basically, it was a question a bit earlier, who is driving the change? Why are we interested in sustainability? And I somehow think that this is actually the biggest impact is coming from the community, from the end customer who is requesting the change. And I've noticed that much more discussions started to be around about sustainability, especially after pandemic world we are in now, and the numbers show the reason why. Last year results, say McKinsey, if I'm not wrong, 45% of Generation Z changed their mind about choosing the brand just because two alternatives, one of them was sustainable and the other one was not, so they said no to the alternative which was not. So it's not 2%, it's not 15, it's not 10, it's 45 last year. And the number is rising really fast. And basically, how is that happening? Because we have to forget the times when actually the advertisement was the reason why the customer is buying. No, word of mouth and the opinion of my colleague, of my friend, of my neighbor is the most powerful one. And all of a sudden, you provide great examples, and this is actually the same even in the business I operate, yes? Usually before that, it was a fashionable thing to say how many new clothes I have. Now, the most fashionable thing is to either share that you found something very beautiful in a vintage boutique, buying something which is not used, which was used, or that a friend gave you something which she is not wearing and it fits you so well. or that you saved a lot of money while I know, making from some old thing something which is usable, yes? So it's becoming a new cool. It's actually a new cool already, right? So, and this is what drives the change, because the business at the end of the day has to react. The change and the request from the customer is not only nice to have already, it's a request to be there. And this accelerates the investments from the companies. And yes, another thing, it's also very good that the customers are educated enough to understand that they have to pay more for some decisions. Yes.
So it kind of feels that communities and customers are kind of shaping the way we build our business, the way we address sustainability issues. And just before lunch, we heard the presentation about the cyber risks. But I must ask the question, in this sustainability journey, we use a lot of, still a lot of tools, a lot of automation, this reducing the paperwork and whatever. How does technology enter this game? And maybe Mindaugas, from your experience, you can share.
Perfectly. Enters perfectly and helps. But once again, I want to stress, in my opinion, we should not look sustainability into narrow environmental impact field. Sustainability is a waste elimination from what we do.
Yeah.
And the presentation which was given by Edvinas, I really admire, it shows how we should stop wasting the democracy values. There is a clear border. You should not source anything which goes to east, because till Taiwan. You can go west as long as you want and stop at Taiwan, then jump to India. That's it. That's all the democracies in the world. We should stick, if we want to be sustainable, liberal, democratic world and live freely, even to have a right to pollute, if when we want, when we decide, and right not to pollute, when we want, when we decide, we should keep sustainability of our democratic hemisphere and world. That's one. When we do the project management, we should also care about the waste. If you do the wrong decisions at one end, then you need to do the network swaps at another end. It seemed the right decision when you looked at the price at the beginning, but now it doesn't seem. So when we are talking about technology, does it help, or is it an obstacle or make us naked? It helps us a lot. I believe that, honestly, technology is a solution to every of nowadays humanity problems we are facing.
But responsible technology.
The technology which is meant to deliver what is meant. If the technology is meant to steal from you, then it's not the technology you want. COVID cleared the skies because we switched off some industries. Yeah? It cleared the streets of Vilnius. There was zero traffic jams. It helped us. Yeah? If I would be in municipality of Vilnius, I know why the traffic jams is in Vilnius. Because of 50 people. 50 directors of the schools. If they all would be best, we would stop running around in Vilnius like crazy. So the Vilnius project management of education sucks big time because it creates all the waste around. So when you do the project managers, when you do your job, you don't think that you are just small mosquitoes and making a small impact. You impact cities, families, countries, and continents. So it's not only about small tree or something. It's about eliminating waste in whatever we do. When we party, we party. When we work, we work. And should not mix these two.
Okay. Now, looking at the time, I see that we have used it, and this has been an enormously interesting conversation. Thank you all for sharing your thoughts. The good news is that we as human beings can change, and this was already presented in the keynote this morning. We are able to adapt, we are able to find the new ways, and we'll keep doing so towards better and becoming, not just reducing the waste, but actually becoming better contributors to society, to sustainability. And with that, I want to thank all the panel participants. But as we have 1 minute, Rolando, do we have any completely outstanding questions we need to tackle?
Absolutely. We do have one. But another one will go from me, if you agree, okay?
Absolutely.
I agree on everything what you've been talking, but I absolutely disagree with Mindaugas about using the alcohol and stop doing that until 2050. It's because I still remember the headline of CNN. It was written, "Alcohol kills coronavirus." Though it depends how you use it, right? Yeah, so, but on all the other things, I absolutely agree, all right? So, question comes from Inga. And she asks you to give an example of your daily work and actions you take to be more sustainable, if applicable, examples from project management.
Okay, so I guess we have 1 or 2 speakers to speak up. Anybody?
Who would like to be the perfect example?
What I can share most probably very simple. It's a common thing in at least every technology company, just to use the tools for project management. You know, it's a very simple thing, but for me it's a game changer. I mean, if really we know how to use them properly, because what I see, we sometimes buy different tools which draws many dashboards or whatever thing, but we don't really know how to use them so that they would help you to do the job and to stop wasting time for things which are not useful. And I believe that this ability to actually know how to use your tool in a proper way, so that it would be not for making a great dashboard for some manager, but actually would help you to plan your day, week, month, and stay within the strategy and goals, and eliminate all the things which are not creating any value. So most probably this is my main thing, which I do every day, to review my task and to see if they are working towards my direction and my strategy, and eliminate the ones which I do not need.
Fantastic.
I can give just one also, maybe not so strategic suggestion, but I think the key point from what I've been working to implement, that all the teams always would do that, is to have sustainability in the vision at the very beginning of the project, and to make sure that it's not lost somewhere while you go through all the project implementation stages. So once you have it just in the very beginning, whether you're designing a new product, whether you're designing a new service, whether you just ensuring implementation of any other project, have sustainability always on top of your mind and don't lose it from the focus. Then it's going to be a sustainable project.
Fantastic. So with that, I think I thank everybody. Thank you, Giedrė, Mindaugas, Indrė, Liudas. It's been a pleasure to be with you, and thank you for your openness. And we pass back to you, Roland.